Good afternoon to you. Mark Sott of HurricaneTrack.com here. Wednesday now, the 18th of October, 2023. Pretty quick update for you here today. We got Norma in the East Pack, 94L, out in the Atlantic, and 94L well on its way to becoming our next named storm in the Atlantic Basin. Probably, as most of you watch this later today, it'll already be upgraded. So let's get on with it and show you what we got out there. National Hurricane Center homepage. A couple of thick paragraphs there. That tells you something's happening. And it is with 94L, as they say here, National Hurricane Center latest update from the 2 p.m. outlook, that basically all the data is indicating that we are probably seeing the formation of a tropical storm. As such, interest in the Lesser Antilles should continue to monitor the progress of the disturbance. Advisories may be needed as early as later this afternoon and could include the issuance of watches for some of the islands. So we'll dig into this more as we progress. Meanwhile, in the East Pack, we do have Norma out here and well on its way to becoming a hurricane. We have another disturbance. I don't think this is going to do too much, honestly. I'll show you that as we move forward. So there's Norma. We'll put a big N for Norma, and we'll go ahead and put a T here for eventual Tammy. Some kind of a glitch in the satellite there for a few of the frames, but that's okay. What is this, you might wonder? A little bit of convergence, air coming together. So there is some cloudiness, showers, and thunderstorms in the vicinity of Central America, but really nothing to worry about. Now for Norma, I got to admit, I was looking at what it would take to get down to Cabo San Lucas this weekend, but it probably won't be necessary because it looks like, for one, the center should pass south of Cabo and vicinity. But that doesn't mean there won't be impacts. We know all about that. Squally conditions out here, the big waves coming in, that kind of thing. But then landfall should happen somewhere in this vicinity a day or so later. And hopefully Norma will be weakening. Its forecast, you see right there, if not sooner than this, to become a Category 3. But then strong upper level winds should begin to tear it apart. And before it makes it up to Cabo and vicinity, it should weaken pretty substantially. Looking at the vorticity signature of our different features out here, there's Norma. Norma, if I can say it, quite robust. Just a little bit of an inkling there of some convergence. And this doesn't show that, but it's just in my mind. I know what I'm looking at based on the satellite imagery that I showed you, the loop there, and then the still imagery here of the vorticity signature. A little bit of energy down there, but nothing really concentrating. So we're not going to worry about this much. We'll just put an X on it. And then that's kind of interesting, the look to 94L. Some of that energy stretched out over a large area there, but then it's trying to concentrate farther to the south and east. And that'll be interesting in terms of when it does make its turn. Will there be impacts for the islands? Well, yes, there will be, but how much so? Well, that remains to be seen. And by the way, there's a pretty potent system. That's what they look like in the mid-latitudes, by the way. These vorticity signatures that I'm so much a fan of during hurricane season. That's a mid-latitude storm. And let's look at it back on satellite real quick. There it is there. That, by the way, is going to lead to another one of these nor'easter rain events for the New England states this weekend. Happy, happy, joy, joy, right? All right, looking at the GFS from this afternoon's run. Let's use blue on today's telestration. And we'll move this out into time. There comes what will be Tammy right over here. And then you got all this other area around it, right? That yellow there, that's, energy. So you could get some squalls passing through all these different islands down here. So just because the center, which would presumably be there, doesn't pass over your location, doesn't mean there won't be impacts. I just cannot emphasize that enough. GFS wind field down near the surface, 10-meter wind, shows it ramping up pretty quickly there overall. Yet the strongest wind should stay away from even the northeasternmost islands down here, but that doesn't mean that it won't rain very hard. So just please balance all that. You look at it being far enough away, oh, thank goodness, but you can still get some rain coming through, and if that's heavy enough, you know the rest. You can get some flash flooding and other problems related to that. So just watch as it goes by, 100 miles more south and west, and yes, you could have some wind problems. We'll examine that in more detail tomorrow because things will obviously be more clear. It'll be formed, probably Tammy by then, and we'll track it going into tomorrow. Looking at the water temperatures. Now this is interesting as we head through the rest of October and then to next month. Of course, next month is the 6th and final month of the official hurricane season. We're going to be watching this closer and closer once we get to December and beyond. And there's two things. One, the El Nino. Two, the very warm Atlantic relative to average. That was why we have had the season that we've had, because that El Nino right there should have just capped off everything and kept us under probably 10 named storms. But because the Atlantic was so warm, the El Nino's influence just wasn't as much, because everything was warmer. Yes, there is an El Nino, but it was relative to the warmth in the Atlantic, and really globally, honestly. But the Atlantic Basin really warmer than average this year, and that'll probably spill into next year. So that's what we'll be watching in the off season. One of many things that we'll be watching. This is kind of neat. Look at all these appendages now in the Gulf, the way the water temperatures are cooling off. Cooler, drier continental air has come down, mixed things up, but you still have the deep, warm water that's out there, and that's still showing up as these little appendages in the Gulf. But for the most part, water temperatures now too cool for tropical systems to really have a big impact. You'd have to have something form and then just haul rear end up here, right? Haul butt up there, I can say that. That's not likely. It's not zero, because I don't know. Obviously, between now and November 30th, something could happen. But it's going to get harder and harder. Same is true for the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. Getting some of these blues dipping down in here now, much cooler water temperatures. But in the Gulf Stream, still pretty warm. And again, it would take something like Sandy, just as an example, from 2012, that was way offshore and then pinwheeled its way back. That's just, hopefully a one in a generation, if not longer, type event. I don't see anything like that coming in the near term. So, the water temperatures will continue to cool, the Gulf Stream will stay warm, and we'll get ready for nor'easter season once the cold air off the continent gets involved in here in the subtropical jet. We'll be watching for these bomb cyclones that move up like this way in the wintertime. Yeah, we'll be tracking those as well. All right, I saw this tweet from my friends over at Quick Dams. Quick Dams, they got one, they got many. And I agree. And I think we've done pretty much the same thing over here at HurricaneTrack. What is that? That we are genuinely interested and care about the people, our customers, our viewers. And they're talking about Fire Prevention Month, and it's just a good thing to point out. So I saw this tweet from them, and I figured, I can remind you about our partner, Quick Dam, and all the wonderful products they've got to help you mitigate all kinds of water problems. But then, seriously, you got to make sure you're on top of things, because what do you put fire out with? Generally, water. I know there's other methods too. And so it just all kind of fit together. October Fire Prevention Month. Check all of your alarms, very important, especially if you've got kids like I do, your fire extinguishers and so forth, and just make sure you're on top of it. Weather preparedness, home preparedness, work preparedness, safety, it all runs together. Just doing our part to give you a gentle reminder. All right, Norma, 94L, interesting days ahead. Hurricane season still cranking along. We'll keep an eye on what's happening down there for our friends in the Northeast Caribbean. I'll have much more about it probably early tomorrow morning, because I got a busy day tomorrow with family stuff. That's a good thing, not complaining. And then, of course, Norma for our friends on the Pacific coast of Mexico and the Baja. I'll have an update on both for you tomorrow morning. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth here at HurricaneTrack. I'll talk to you again early tomorrow morning.